Hello and welcome to the Empower Women and Empower Coaching occasional series of chats on purpose today. And I have my friend and fellow vlogger, Carin Rockind here to talk about purpose, which is her specialty, and how purpose brings us through our lives more happily, more positively, but also how it can contribute to our career success. And all the different dimensions of purpose that we can weave into our career success. So, hi Carin, how are you?
Hi Dana, I'm well, how are you?
Very good. I love doing these chats with everybody, but when you and I get on, we just seem to go.
I'm so glad to be here. Thanks for having me.
So you spend a lot of energy and thought and time working with people, professional people, about how to tap into their purpose. And I know you have a special program where you work with women kind of midlife in their 40s about it. And I was wondering if you could give us just, what's the elevator pitch on, not why is finding your purpose important, but how do you know that it's time to really get serious about your purpose?
Yeah.
And what is the purpose that matters when you get that signal?
Really good, really great questions. So, fundamentally, I think the most asked question, if I understand it correctly, other than how are you, is who am I? And we, most of us from the time that we're young, we're really spending our life trying to figure out who am I and what is my identity and where do I start and my parents stop and society and all that good stuff. And those questions are really fun to explore and investigate until you're probably around 25, right? So take as many classes in college as you can and explore and all that. And then as we move into our 20s and 30s and 40s and 50s, and we suddenly find ourselves, and I can speak from my own personal experience, my clients' experience, and I have clients all the way from 22 all the way up until 70. And regardless of where in life you are, that question of when you start feeling stuck and almost like something's off and not aligned, and you're really frustrated, and it's like this deeper knowing, almost like this hole of, I know that there's something else. This can't be it. So those are the things I know I used to say to myself, and the things I hear from clients all the time. And this desire and this belief and this feeling. I was on another podcast this morning about cravings, and it's really a craving to know who am I and what am I all about. And it can lead people to feel extremely depressed. In fact, not knowing your life purpose and asking that question over and over again, who am I, can lead to depression, anxiety, and even suicide. And that's why my fundamental belief is we all have purpose in life, and you'd be a heck of a lot happier if you found it. And that's why I've dedicated my life to figuring that out.
Actually, you just said something that lit a light bulb off for me. I never equated these two things. So when I was in my mid-30s, I had achieved success. I had the house, I had the husband, I had the kids, I had the awesome corporate job and career history and all this stuff. And I kind of hit this thing of going, oh my gosh, I can't be 35, I was around that age, and have succeeded and it's over, right?
Is this it? Yeah.
Is this it? Exactly.
Right, yeah.
And what was interesting was now that I look back clearly, so at that moment, I was confused, I was feeling directionless. I mean, it's like I always knew where I was going, and all of a sudden I didn't. And I had all these responsibilities, and I had all of this life that I was responsible for. And that was a really scary feeling. I threw myself into just figuring it out.
Right.
In retrospect now, I see I was looking, I had my homing device out. Like, where's my purpose?
What is it? What is it? And, it's interesting you mentioned that I have a program for women in their 40s. It's called #ThisIs40, and any of you can find out more. I right now have 18 women in this incredible 4-month journey. It's so powerful for them. I'll be doing another class starting in the fall. And you can find that at purposegirl.com. I just turned 40 myself. And what happened is I had so many women contact me who I haven't spoken to since we were girls, like in summer camp or the sorority, saying, I don't know if it's because I'm turning 40, but ... And a lot of people said what you said, which is, my life looks exactly like I thought it would, and there still is something missing. Or people would say, my life doesn't look at all like I thought it would at 40, and I feel like a failure. And my own personal journey was, I did what you did, Dana. Like, I grew up just wanting to be, I thought that success meant get married, have a great job, have a nice house, have a golden retriever, and life is good. And I had all of that when I was 24. And I felt terribly empty. And I looked around my big suburban house and was like, something's wrong here. But it shouldn't be wrong because my husband is beautiful and a lawyer. And I really began my journey then and realized that beyond what we're told is this nice, ladder or hill to success, is this deeper truth that isn't as easy to understand or to connect with, because maybe you were told that whoever you are wasn't okay as a child, and that is where true purpose lies. And I'll get into that in a moment, but there's this idea that we're supposed to live a certain way and that will make us happy. And so you hit it on the head. Are you familiar with Maslow's hierarchy of needs?
Oh, yes.
Okay. So, and for anyone who's watching right now, if you're not, basically Abraham Maslow, one of the greatest psychologists of all time, said that we have 5 basic human needs, and until you've reached, there's the lowest need is food and water and whatever, and until if you don't have that need fulfilled, you don't care as much about the second need. So there's basic needs, and then there's like shelter and clothing and things that, if you don't have food, you don't care as much about shelter, etc. Is achievement. The 4th highest need is achievement. And the 5th highest need is self-actualization or purpose. So this answer to who am I, what am I all about? And Dana, I think as a society we've achieved. So what you explained at 35 and what someone out there, if you're a woman, you're watching, you're like, well, I'm a vice president or a director of advertising or a lawyer and I still feel empty. It's because you've gotten to the 4th highest achievement, the 4th highest need. But beyond that is like, now really, what are my gifts? What's my unique wisdom? What contribution do I really want to make in the world so that when I'm 80 or when I am 90, I feel like I left a legacy. And that is more and more of, I know what I want. It's what you're describing and what I see so many women want. It's beyond achievement. It's like a personal legacy.
Yeah, and actually, so let's talk about that for the person, the woman, or anybody really, I think, although you're right, I think women seem to tap into this in a more urgent way. You've achieved your career goals to a certain point, and now you're afraid, if I tap into my purpose, I have to let this entire career I've built go. Mm-hmm. And my experience, both with me personally, but also with my clients, is, it appear to some people, it truly appears like a fork in the road. To me, it did. It was truly a fork in the road, and I had to go off out of the corporate world to find my way back into the corporate world as a coach, right? Other people that I've worked with, they don't have that fork. They can find their way by doing related work, or by working for different kinds of companies that are more aligned with their value systems, or they stay in their career and they just evolve it and expand it, follow their sense of purpose, which may have something to do with how aligned they are to it to begin with. I don't really know. Do you have any insights into that? Do you have to have this fork in the road?
Really, really good question. You don't have to have a fork in the road. Some people, from the time that they were younger, so I define purpose, just to be clear. Purpose is the active way that you uniquely impact the world. And I believe the word purpose starts with the word to. It's a verb. So to inspire, to teach, to create, to empower, to encourage. And by the way, you can have 4 verbs. So my purpose is to inspire, encourage, and empower women to live their purpose and love their lives. And you can do that. So let me back up. Most of us, I think, start to equate purpose with job from the time we're a little kid, right? So what do you want to be when you grow up? What do you want to be when you grow up? And to a 10-year-old, how many nouns does a child know? Or even when you're in college, what do you want to major in? Well, how do you connect what you're like passionate about around, political science and the evolution of butterflies to an accountant? Like, we don't have a good way of connecting that. And so we think, okay, well, what career do I want? And I think some people were blessed enough to really follow their own internal interests and their own passions and what really lights them up, and then either become an entrepreneur or follow a career path that allowed them and aligned, their great truth. And then they are indeed flourishing wherever they are. Then there are, and so you don't have to, there's no fork, you're doing it. And then there are those who find themselves misaligned. And I'll give you an example. One of my clients is an advertising executive, and she just didn't know what else to go into. Lo and behold, now she's, multiple six figures in New York City, and saying, well, how did I end up here? Her favorite part of her job is when she gets to support the younger people who work for her, but there's so many demands with the product itself, she doesn't have a lot of time there. And so for her, the fork came in this term of like, something's off. I'm not happy doing these things. How do I do more of that? And for her, she can stay in the industry, and we're working on her becoming, can she move into human resources? Can she move into an internal coach? Can she move into, right? So there are ways that you don't have to have this, living your purpose doesn't mean that you have to leave your family and kids and job and go off to a third world country and save a village. It's really just aligning that which lights you up and makes you feel alive with what you're actually doing on a day-to-day basis. And by the way, purpose being a verb means you live your purpose wherever you are. So with your friends, with your family, your volunteer work. And so thinking beyond a job, I encourage and empower and inspire no matter where I am. And that allowed me, when I was moving out of my corporate job, to be doing it a little bit at a time. So I started doing more inspiring with volunteer work with youth, with kids. Then I started doing more inspiring with my own and encouraging with my direct reports at work. I started a coaching relationship. And then I said to a group of friends of mine, will you all come over and can I do a speech for you about what I think is really empowering? And then I wanted to make a career move. But you can start where you are now.
Yeah, I want to underscore something you said, both because for me it was way too painful a discovery, and so now I work with my clients and anybody listening to this to try to learn a very simple technique, which is, I believe, exactly what you're saying, which is that at any point in time you have a decision to make, whether it's walking up the stairs or taking the elevator, whether it's talking to this person or that person, whether you want to take this job or that job or go to this meeting or that meeting or whatever. In every little decision, if you can choose the one that brings you more joy, that lightens your heart just a little bit, you eventually actually kind of stumble into your purpose because you're choosing that thing that lights you up, and you don't have to know what your purpose is ahead of time. And for me, when I finally figured out when I do that, I get closer to my purpose. I look back and I said, why didn't I do that 8 years ago?
I know exactly, because I spent years and years doing the same, trying to find my purpose, and as if it's like out there somewhere. Like, where is this purpose thing? And with a lot of my clients, I go back to their core joy and who they were being. Not, there's doing, yeah, but who were they being when they were a child, before learning who they were not supposed to be? Because if you look at a child, 3, 4, child has no problem screaming his head off at a restaurant, or belting out singing if he has no voice, or running around dancing if she's, wherever. And so really looking at who are we being, we were, if someone was being alive and full of joy, then we can tap into, now where do I find joy? Because what I find, I don't know about you, Dana, is that a lot of people have learned so much over time about who they are not supposed to be and what they should not do and what is not responsible, that they almost can't tap into their joy. It feels too covered up.
Yep.
Yeah, over time.
Yep.
And so I actually call it uncover your purpose, not find.
I like that a lot, and so I'm going to give a short plug for one of the programs that I run. It's not about purpose, but it's about managing your energy day to day, and so we're managing your stress, but also so that you accomplish a lot with lower stress. You accomplish more with lower stress. But one of the tools we use are intentions and monitoring your energy and learning, like you just said, to uncover, well, in anything I do, whether it's look at my emails and decide which ones to respond to first, or like I said, go take the elevator or take the stairs, anything I do, how can I uncover what it is that gives me energy? Because, you know, like it's layered by layer, each little act. When you find the things that give you energy, then, and you do more of those, then you kind of, like you said, uncover ideas and thoughts and activities that bring you energy, and that's kind of coming from your purpose. Your purpose is trying to get out, right? It's trying to boil up and be in front of you.
Exactly.
And so when you learn those techniques, you can find it more easily, but it's within you all the time, of course.
Exactly. You know, I have a master's in positive psychology, the science of human flourishing, and scientifically, the reason for this is that in our brain, so, you know, what we know and have known for a long time, negative, and I put it in quotes, but negative emotions like fear or stress or anger, evolutionarily, those are triggers to our system that threat is here, and that, you know, our bodies need to prepare for threat, so that, which means fight or flight or freeze. So there was a question in the field about 15 years ago, well, why do we have a positive emotion? Like, why joy? Why intention? Why inspiration? Why serenity? And what we now know is that positive emotions literally activate your prefrontal cortex, which is the part of your brain that is responsible for making bigger connections, for being more creative, for seeing more, for higher level thinking. And so what you're talking about there, Dana, I love what you teach in this course, because each little moment of feeling light, each little moment of joy, each little moment of interest literally starts to change your brain, what we know from science, and then allows you to see more and allows you to start, you know, building more resources for the future. It's called broaden and build. So it's, you know, I go with clients and get really clear on their joy. And I had one client, for instance, who told me that she really loves hiking, but she couldn't go hike anymore because she and her boyfriend broke up and she doesn't want to be in the woods. And she really loves singing, but she didn't belong to a church or a synagogue and didn't, you know, where would I sing in the choir? And then she said, well, how is this going to help me with my career anyway, right, my purpose? And I said to her, just promise me, you know, this is your arrangement. You're going to go find a choir, blah, 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 blah. She did. And of course, her whole joy, everything about her started shifting. And then, of course, she more easily was able to make connections, got 2 job offers, there we go. It literally changes your brain. So I love that you're teaching that idea of follow the joy, follow that intention.
Yeah, and actually, I can just add my own story to that.
Yeah.
During parts of my journey, I got this desire to create jewelry, you know, like beads and stuff.
Cool.
And I thought, this is not useful. Well, I need more earrings, right?
Right.
And in fact, I have a lot more earrings than I need even now. But I started doing it I felt like I had to. Like you said, when you tap into what brings you joy, it kind of, you have to do it. And I decided just to do it. You know, I was only going to do it at night and on weekends, and only when I could sort of justify the time. And the long story short was, I realized, so I did do it, I sold a few, but it really wasn't a money-making thing. What I realized about 1.5 years later was I was so much more creative in my work.
Yes.
You know, like strategically now, when I was working with a client, I saw connections that I didn't see before, and all of a sudden when I saw it, it felt like when I was making jewelry and said, oh wait, I could put the blue thing with the green thing and it would be cool. It felt the same physically when I had that kind of thought. And that's when I kind of tapped into what you're describing, which is, you know, we get our brains connecting like that, it transfers to everything we do. And before long, you know, my whole career had shifted into a much more, where I got to be more creative in my work, because I was being more creative and delivering my value that way instead of as the bean counter or the analyst.
Right, right. And so you were living your joy, literally. And I love, that's where it starts. It's this incredible, when we think about purpose, and if you've just thought about it as a job title, one of the things I'm sure you see, purpose actually causes a lot of frustration. Like, I spent years in stress to the point where I got shingles at 34, and I was a marathon runner. And shingles is an older person, or it's a stress disease. And that's because I was so sure, like, I have a purpose. After my divorce, I got divorced. I married, the perfection, and then I got divorced at 26. And so, because I knew that I meant for something, and I knew that there was something more, but not being able to figure it out left me so stressed, so anxious, so depressed. In many ways, some people say, well, isn't purpose kind of bad for you because it's so stressful? And when you allow it, if you're in that place where it is a stress point and you're just thinking, am I supposed to be an accountant or a nurse or a teacher? That's when you're going to remain in that tight bud. However, if you can put the noun to the side and simply tap into little things that bring you joy. It's interesting, you've been doing jewelry. I've been doing a lot more art. Now I keep art by my desk and I draw things out. And what's true is that each of us are every age we have ever been. And so inside of each of us is that little girl who wants to play. And one of the things I know about the difference between men, so there's men and women, but there's also masculine and feminine. And every single person has masculine and feminine in them. And I believe that as just a society, we have really been exercising our masculinity, which is doing. So we all know how to do and achieve very well. What we're talking about here by drawing or doing jewelry or singing is tapping more into your feminine. And that's not man-woman. This is not sexist. It's to say that there's a quality of being and a quality of tapping into inspiration, which means in spirit, and a quality of letting the little girl go out and play that will then allow you to see what brings you joy, what lights you up, and your purpose really is allowing your own light to shine light on others. So it will naturally come out. And then you can say, can I do this in my current work? Which might mean you just see your own job differently, right? Like I had one client who was managing a department at a university, and she came to me, she was sure she was going to leave her job to find her purpose. And when talking about her work, what we realized, everything she loved doing, she tutored some kids, she loved working with some students, et cetera, et cetera. And I said, well, how are you mentoring and supporting your staff? Well, I don't. Just switching how she did her job lit up her purpose.
Yep, I've had similar interactions with clients and myself, and it is interesting when you look at what you're doing. Quite often you've unconsciously brought yourself to a place where you have a lot of opportunity to explore your purpose, but because you've been unconscious, because you've been, like you said, kind of thinking, well, I have to do it this, that, or the other way, you haven't really noticed. And just noticing that is a huge shift. And then, of course, the next move you make, whether it's a career move or otherwise, is more intentional. And
yes.
Actually, just in wrapping up, I wanted to talk about intention a little bit and get your perspective on this, because in this course I teach Mastering Personal Energy for Productivity and Adaptivity, which is part of our membership program. One of the things we focus on is intention, and the way I teach intention, it's about getting to a state of being that is in that future success state. So if it's a daily intention, it's just going to bed happy and content, knowing you've done the most important thing today. But it could be an annual, you could have a 3-month intention that's much broader or something. But what I find is, and the reason I teach it this way, is that when you really embody into that state of being, that success state, it gives you a sense of purpose that's very tied to getting to that being state. So if it's at the end of the day and you're just like, I just can't wait to go to bed, and feels so good and relaxed because my day was successful because I got that presentation done. That's like a mini purpose. It's not necessarily your life's purpose, but it really focuses people's energy. It just brings your energy right into alignment, and you go, I know what I have to do to get that presentation done. Your right brain clicks in and says, bing, 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 you don't have those 4 slides are irrelevant, jettison them. It's like your entire being comes into helping you achieve that purpose. Yeah. And then the same context works for longer term life changes. I need to be in a new career, or I need to have different friends around me, supporting me, whatever it is. So I find this concept of intention is kind of like a formula for using the thing purpose does for us to move us forward. Really powerful. I'm curious if you have experience with that.
Yeah, what I do, what I talk about, if we think about, right now I'm running a class called 2015 on Purpose. And it's a 4-week class, and tonight is actually the last class, and I'll be running it again in March. And it's really, uncovering and what are the tools of life purpose, but we begin every class with what is my intention? Because when your mindset says, my intention for class is to show up fully, my intention is to really take in the material, you literally now are changing your neural pathways to be open and be ready. The same is true thinking about the year. So one of my exercises for a new year is, this year, how do you want to feel? Who do you want to be? Like, how do you want to show up in the world? What do you want to have, and what do you want to do? Again, intention. So I love what you're saying, and all of my clients do it even if they're like going into Christmas dinner and they can't stand being around their family. Well, what positive intention do you have? And it automatically, my positive intention is to remain calm when everybody starts annoying me. Awesome. So that anytime the trigger happens, annoying, calm, calm. So I think you're really onto something there, and I think it's a beautiful thing to teach because it really does activate and change your brain.
It does, and it's fascinating to hear you talk about the brain part of it, because what I find is interesting is you talk to people about the brain and it's fascinating, but they don't know what to do with that. So it's like, yay, I'm so glad my brain is more powerful than I know what to do with. And what we're talking about, is okay, great. That's what the brain science says, but here are things you can do to actually bring this power into your life. And it is possible, and it does work. And purpose in its larger sense and its smaller sense, we're talking about is intention.
Yeah.
Purpose in the larger sense, like why am I on the planet? The point is there's purpose. If you do everything on purpose for the big reason or for the little reason, and you do it in alignment with what brings you joy, then naturally you become happier, you become more effective and inspiring to people around you, and you tend to accomplish more that matters.
Amen.
And at the end of the day, that's really, I think, what most of us really want.
Yes, so beautiful. And I love what you said, and I know we have to wrap up. It begins with a simple statement, like, I want to remain calm at Christmas dinner. The same is true of, I am here to live on purpose. You don't even have to know what it is. Instead of like, what is my purpose? What is my purpose? That puts you into stress mode. Instead, the simple statement, I am here to live on purpose. I am here to live my joy. I am here to be a light. That starts the path, and that's, I think, what you're talking about with intention. Yeah,
and the other piece of that, and then we really should wrap up, because obviously we could talk for a long time.
I know!
But the other piece of that is to make choices consciously, because living on purpose means choosing to do the things that bring you joy or that matter to you or that feel impactful for you, and to not do the things that don't. And so going back to that, where's my purpose? If you just choose everything is a choice and make it as consciously as you can and as positively as you can, in my experience, you accidentally can stumble into your purpose even if you have no clue what it is.
Yes. Well said. Well said.
So this has been a lot of fun. I'm going to make sure to put on the Empower Women page where this is, and on the YouTube page, links to both our programs pages. If people want to follow up on this, because obviously we're both doing classes and stuff on this all the time. So I want to
and they're complementary, right? I mean, our classes are complementary. Your class in intention and daily choice, and the March class I have of 2015 on purpose around the why am I here question and how to do that, or that you want to rock out your 40s. Anyone can find me on purposegirl.com. And I actually just found out that, so I have a new online TV show, and it is launching today. I didn't realize it was launching today, and someone can, which is the second half of the big life purpose question, is, well, once I know, like for me, I'm here to empower women, and I was in a job where that had limited capacity, now how do I go do it? So anyone who wants more on that, my new show is on WIT Nation, WIT Nation.com. First one is premiering at 3 p.m. Eastern today, and it's called Break Free. So that's actually how do you then break free and go live your purpose if it's outside of your current work environment.
Awesome. Excellent. Well, thank you for your time, and thank you for the great conversation, and thanks everybody for listening and watching and paying attention, and we hope to hear from you through any or all of these programs or online. So take care, everybody.
Bye-bye. Thanks.